I am glad to welcome everyone who continues to learn how to repair upholstered furniture. Today, we will talk about non-standard solutions. There are situations when it is impossible to replicate the work using the technology made at the factory. For example, consider the situation with this sectional sofa. In front of us is the back of the sectional. The furniture itself is generally not bad, but there was one defect. Specifically, the furniture is combined. The pillows and headrests are made of flock. The main part is also made of flock, which is of good quality, but this part is combined with faux leather. Unfortunately, the faux leather turned out to be of poor quality and began to crumble. The client asked us to fix this, either cover it up or replace it. However, when the furniture was brought to the workshop and disassembled, it turned out that it was impossible to simply remove the cover, rip off the defective parts, cut out new parts, and sew them on. Why? Because it is quite rare for these pillows to be fully stitched together with the filler. They are 10 to 15 centimeters thick, so you end up with a whole cover for 4 pillows of this thickness. Naturally, it is almost impossible to do this without special industrial equipment. Does this mean that this work cannot be done? No. You will see how this work can be done. So, let's take a closer look. What did we do in this situation? Instead of removing the old cover and using its parts as a pattern, we took measurements and made an overlay cover for the damaged parts. This way, on this part, you can see the overlay cover, which completely covers the damaged sections. This allows us to avoid disassembling and very complex sewing, which would be nearly impossible to do without industrial equipment. But how can this be done, and what should be taken into account? First, you need to take very accurate measurements of all the parts, as you cannot use the old parts as templates after removing them. When taking measurements, you need to consider some nuances, particularly for this specific furniture. For instance, in these corners, you need to make the rhombus extend slightly into the corner and slightly sharpen the corners of the part. Also, for this trapezoid part, you should not start the line at an angle immediately, but make about 4 centimeters at a 90-degree angle and then extend it out at an unfolded angle. This ensures that the corner will fit much better, and there will be fewer folds. Additionally, to ensure that the cover holds, we use tightening ties made of strong nylon thread that are threaded through all these parts up to this corner from the top and down to the corner. There is no need for a dense decorative seam here, and there is no need to pass the thread here. The cover must fit tightly around the damaged parts, so we take the measurements and get 3 parts, a rhombus, a trapezoid, and a triangle. After taking the exact measurements, we first make a drawing without allowances. Then, transferring this drawing to the fabric, we mark how much we need for the seams. To wrap and thread the nylon thread, you need no more than 1.5 centimeters on each side. This must also be taken into account. As for the placement of the fabric, we won't go into more detail now. We discussed this in the lesson working with upholstery fabric and types of upholstery fabric, where we covered all of this. So, when the cover is sewn, how do you put it on correctly? We will now consider this in a little more detail. After fitting the cover precisely, we made decorative stitches and stitches for the ropes for the drawstrings with strong nylon thread. We make a loop in this place so that the thread does not move in different directions. After this, we take another thread, thread it with a needle behind the seams through the densest place, and bring out 2 more threads. We get a drawstring in 3 threads. This is quite strong, and there will be no problems. We thread it with the help of a large needle, inserting all 3 threads, and as already done here, at the measured place, we stick the thread and make a tightening. This is how the cover is put on, and the tightenings are applied. The most difficult part is the middle section. I would also like to note that especially in the middle part, it is necessary to remove each part separately because these distances on individual pillows can differ by approximately 1 or 2 centimeters, as was the case with this furniture. Therefore, this part should be handled individually. Each part should be placed individually. How do we do this? We first pull the middle sections tightly and secure the tightenings with a stapler on the other side, then check how well this part fits. To do this, we pull it, Tighten the drawstrings and ensure that the outline is accurately replicated. Using the needle, we thread it through the closed edge and tie it securely. This should be done in a taut state. That is, after we have tightened and pulled up the tightenings, there might be a few folds. Then, we fix this thread in place. To ensure it holds, we will need to height it properly. After pulling the cover, we see where it will end. We stick the needle into this spot and height it under the old seam, bringing it out into the seam as far as possible. This way, it is completely hidden and fits tightly. We then take the thread to the back part, resulting in a very neat and hidden finish, with nothing visible. The side tightenings are done in the same way. Here, it is a bit easier because you can tighten it and then adjust it on the side where we will hammer it in if necessary. After completing these operations, all 4 tightenings are secured and tightened. Next, we need to hammer in the lower part. There is a frame, which can be attached with a stapler. But one problem arises. When pulling, this place lags behind. What should be done? How do we fix it? We discuss the possibility of gluing fabric with silicone glue, using a special electric gun in the decoration and finishing lesson. Now we will see how this is done. While the silicone is heating up in the gun, you can put on these parts, hammer the fabric, tighten the tightenings, and hammer them on the back side, which we will do now. Everything is neatly hidden. Both parts are now ready. We proceed to gluing this part. To do this, we wrap everything forward, bend it, and apply relaxed silicone glue along the edge of the old fabric, about 1 centimeter from the edge. The fabric will not burn from this glue, so it adheres firmly and neatly. After that, we can easily do the stretching. Nothing will come off here. After gluing the second part in the same way, we turn it over and hammer the fabric into place. This is quite simple. First, we tighten the middle, secure it, and then gradually, smoothing it with our hands, hammer the rest of the fabric. This is the result. Recently, there was torn faux leather here. Now we have a very neat overlay cover. Everything is tightened, nothing is visible, and nothing will sag. The appearance is beautiful. What techniques were used? This is an overlay cover made from parts, with dimensions taken on site, not made with polycal from an old cover. These are the ties and the gluing of some places with silicone glue, using such a simple tool. The ties, glue, staples, and overlay cover ensure that this fabric remains untouched, resulting in a completed cover. In other words, such non-standard solutions not just replicating what was done at the factory, but showing ingenuity allow us to handle even complex furniture like this.